Hi everybody, welcome to the Kanuka Home Practice. This week we're working on binds. So I'm going to be taking us through some twists and how we can approach them not only on the yoga mat but also in our everyday lives. I'll be giving you exercises to practice at home that might not look like yoga, but they're really good. So give them a go. Today's lesson is going to look at those movements. It's basic, it's simple, you can do it every day. And then the next video in this series is going to look at how we can apply that to yoga postures. All right, you want to grab 2 blocks and a blanket and get ready to go. Today we're going to be talking about twists, and the way that I'm going to be looking at teaching you guys about twists and how we're going to be thinking about it is going to look at how we can twist when we're in our yoga classes, and also how we can incorporate twisting into our everyday lives. So I'll explain first why this is important, because twisting may only be something that you think about doing in your yoga classes. Our everyday lives do not incorporate a lot of twisting movements. Most of our movements are sitting, facing forward, walking, facing forward, running, facing forward, sitting on the couch, watching telly, facing forward. You get the idea. We're facing forward and moving on this one single line of this plane of movement all day long. And we forget that twisting was something that our bodies have been created to be able to do as a survival, essentially like a survival thing. Back in our hunter-gatherer days, we needed to turn to look over our shoulder in order to look for a predator hunting us, right? That's what it comes down to. And today in our modern world, we no longer need that. However, because our bodies have been built and designed to be able to twist, we need to keep this function going, because if we lose that mobility, then our body starts to build compensation patterns, which means that other parts of the body will take up that twisting action. And because they're not designed to do that, then they get unhappy and they start complaining and saying, "Oh no, I don't like this, so I'm going to jam up tight, or I'm going to give you pain to tell you that I don't like it." So let's break it down. Twisting or rotation happens in the spine. It happens in our neck, so in our cervical spine, as we turn our head left and right. But also, and more importantly, because this is what we often lose, the rotation happens in our thoracic spine, which is where our rib cage is. So our thoracic vertebrae are attached to our ribs. So if we look at rotation just using the thoracic spine, it looks like this, rather than like getting the pelvis and neck into it as well. It's quite a controlled and quite a small movement. And if we lose the capacity to be able to do this, and we lose it by not twisting, as I've explained, and also we lose it by just staying in one position all day without moving from it. So this hunched position in itself might not be a problem, but the problem is that we stay in it all day without moving our body in a variety of ways. So what happens when we lose this function? First of all, it affects our breathing. We're no longer able to fully breathe in the ways that we need to. So often that can start, our bodies can compensate by using other muscles to help with the breathing. So we end up with a tight neck, tight shoulders, or pain in those areas. Another way that immobility here affects this neck and shoulder area is that if our thoracic spine is unable to do some turning here, when we do ask our bodies to turn, our neck might be doing more than it wants to, and we're relying on it too much. So then again, that affects all the musculature around the neck and shoulders, and they might seize up or get tight or uncomfortable. And then finally, the last thing, which for me is most interesting, because I know that I come from a past of doing this, is if we lose the mobility to turn here, then sometimes our pelvis and our low back starts to do that job instead. Our low back is designed to be stable. It is not designed to turn and rotate. Our thoracic spine is. The vertebrae are literally shaped in a way that they turn better than any of the other vertebrae in the spine. So if we are locked up here, and if our low back starts to try to do all of that work, then we might be met with problems in our lumbar area, pain that stays in the lumbar area or that radiates down the legs. And that can also affect the joints down in the knees and the ankles. So there you have it. That's why it's important to keep this mobility going here. Now we're going to get on to looking at how we can learn to do that and how we can incorporate that into our twists on the mat in our yoga classes. And also we're going to start with movements that you can just do every day. If you find that you are locked here, I would recommend that you do a bit of twisting and rotation through that area every day. So let's start with that now. We're going to start with 2 blocks and a blanket. So the blanket is going to be going under the head. Come to lie down on your back. Bring your blocks with you so you can reach them. Lie down on your back, head on the blanket, and pull your knees all the way in as far as you can go to your ribs. Why we need to keep them here into the ribs as we move is because this action takes away any available movement for the lumbar spine. So remember, we want to teach the lumbar spine to stay out of our turning or twisting, and for that action to happen just in the thoracic spine. So we're going to keep the left knee in towards us and let the right foot come back down to the floor. You might stretch that leg out straight. Personally, I find it more comfortable to just let that knee bend and flop over to the right, and the foot then is going to be more over toward the left side of the mat. Keep this left knee in nice and close towards you. Bring your blocks over on the side of the mat right by where your hip is. You can use 1 block or 2 blocks. You're going to how high they are is going to depend on your ability with your thoracic spine to be turning. So we'll see how that goes. All right, and then you're just going to keep that knee in nice and close. Take it over to the side, over to the right. And that's where your blocks come in handy. So you're going to prop that knee up on a block or 2 blocks, whatever's going to feel more stable, nice and high. You could try taking it lower, as long as taking it lower does not start bringing in sensation into your lumbar spine. So we're not doing that old, gotta crack my back kind of position. We don't want that to happen right now. We're doing something different. So lumbar spine stays stable, knee stays up nice and close into the ribs, and it stays up high if your lumbar spine starts feeling this. All right, I'm going to keep mine up nice and high. And then open your arms out so that your face is still facing up toward the ceiling. Your arms are out in a capital T shape. Take a breath in. You can use your left hand to help you. Take a breath into your low back, or even a little bit higher up into your back ribs, and feel the expansion there. Feel the shape that your pelvis might change to as you inhale and expand there, and maintain that feeling as you exhale. All right, we're going to do one more inhale here in this open chest position. And then as we exhale, left hand and arm is going to swing over in a nice big arc to the right hand or arm. Doesn't matter how far you go. Maybe you don't even go all the way. And then inhale to open back up again. Trying to keep that left knee driving up toward the ribs the whole time. Exhale to close. This is called an open close book. I like to think of it as crocodile arms. So we're opening wide our crocodile mouth as we inhale. And that left shoulder might not come all the way to the floor. That's totally fine. Your arm does not have to come to the floor. It can hang in the air, and that's fine. Exhale to close your crocodile mouth, and your head turns with the movement. So we'll do another 2 or 3 on this side before we move to the other side. This is a nice way to warm up the body for twists. It's quite passive, which means that we don't need much activation of the muscles to get this going, whereas what we're moving to next will be using the muscle activation. So just enjoy this bit while it lasts. Last one. All right, and then bring both knees back toward the chest. Shuffle till you're straightened back up on the mat again. Bring your blocks over to your left, out into the outside edge of your left hip. Right, and then you're gonna pull your right knee in towards you. Let the left leg just relax on the floor wherever it is most comfortable. Right knee stays in really nice and close. To help this transition, if your leg is positioned like mine and bent on the floor, you could press into the outer edge of your left foot. That will also help to stabilize more through the pelvis so that you can come into this position without any of that cracking or clinking happening in the spine. If it happens, don't worry about it. All right, not a big deal. Cool, so bring that knee up as close to the ribs as it can go and keep it up nice and high. All right, then open the arms up. This time the right arm might not come to the floor. Not a big deal, not the point of this exercise. That just comes down to your shoulder and rib and thoracic spine mobility. Inhale here in this open position and take that inhalation expansion into your back ribs. And exhale, close your crocodile mouth. Right arm comes over in a wide arc and the palms might meet or adjust wherever you can make it to. Inhale to open. And exhale to close. We'll do another 4 or 5 like this. Inhale. You can move at your own pace. You don't have to go as fast as me. Exhale, or as slow as me. I love to take it slowly to really get that breathing regulated, to get it even on the inhale and the exhale, and also to check to make sure that the breath is expanding into all the areas that I want it to expand into, namely into the back of the ribs and the sides of the ribs, as well as the front of the ribs, but that part's easy. All right, this is going to be our last time to open. And then from there, bring your knees back into your chest, shuffle, and take a little breather. We're going to head over onto our hands and knees next. So make your way there, rolling onto your side. And we're going to start off with our forearms coming down to the floor, as if we're going to come up into a dolphin, which we're not going to do, don't you worry. So the reason why I'm going to do forearms down is because this will help, again, kind of stop our low back from trying to do, and our pelvis from trying to do the work with this next exercise. And then bring your knees in as close as is comfortable and let the hips sink back. So it's kind of like a child's pose, but we're going to get it a little bit more active in a second by coming forward to here. But just, if this is not comfortable for whatever reason, knees or hips, you can do this on your hands and knees from tabletop. It will be more challenging for you to stop the pelvis from wiggling around. So you can always just take time to keep checking, or check in a mirror, or ask someone in your household to check for you to make sure that this is not moving. All right, so I'm going to show you with the forearms down, and then if I remember to, I'll show you up on the hands and knees as well. So if we're here in this kind of child's pose-like position, you're just going to pull in your front ribs and just kind of bounce a little bit until off your heels, until you feel that you're in this more ready to move kind of position. Like we could move and spring out of here at any moment that we wish to. Maybe the knees go back a little bit. For me, I brought them too far forward. All right, keep your left forearm on the floor, make a fist and press down into the floor so that we're a little more stable, more roomy in the shoulder here. Right hand. This is going to be a bit tricky for some of us, especially if we're limited in shoulder and in the rib capacity. So the right fingertips are either going to come just behind the ear, if it can reach there, or if it can go a little bit further, bring it behind the head. And the idea with that is that we're going to try and maintain a long spine by drawing the back of the head back into the hands. So if your hand's behind the ear, you can still think about pulling the throat back and pulling the back of the head back to maintain the length through the spine. Then we're going to start this movement, not from our elbow trying to pull us back, not at all. We're going to start it from the navel. Try to turn your belly button up to the right. And there's not much movement there, and there may be no movement depending on how your mobility is there. And then bring it back down to where we were. So you're going to take an inhale here, and as you exhale, drive your belly button to the right. Good. Hold there. Notice whether this movement has crouched you over toward the right side of your mat. Can you lean back over that left elbow to bring that length back into your spine? Good. And then we're going to close. Inhale. Exhale, open and lean back, long spine. So this might be a lot of work on your shoulder, and if you're struggling with it, do try up on your hand here as well. So if you're trying on your hand, really get a feeling of locking in your hips. You can bring a block between your thighs to help keep movement out of the hips, and squeeze the block there. Squeeze your butt cheeks so that there's just no movement there. And then the same thing, you're inhaling one way, exhaling the other. You can try inhaling to open, which is the opposite of what we did before, and exhaling to close. No right or wrong way, just different ways to do it. Good. All right. And if you're noticing that there's no movement, that's an indication that you'll probably want to try do this every day. This is a really good and functional movement to try and get some of that mobility back into the thoracic spine. And once you improve your mobility there, your breathing will improve, and your ability to do everyday tasks like reaching your arms over your head to reach something up from the top shelf of the cupboard, that will get easier. All right, we're going to swap to the other side. So bring your right forearm, or if you prefer the hand option, down to the floor. Bring your left hand behind the ear or behind the back of the head. Take an inhale first into those back ribs, and then exhale, turning from the belly button to the left. Let your head turn with it. Keep the head pulling back into the hand and leaning the spine back towards the over the right shoulder to keep the length there. All right, inhaling back to where we were, and exhaling. Whoo-wee. Keep it up. So you might swap around your breathing if you preferred inhaling to open and exhaling to close. Figure out what makes most sense for you. I'm going to show again on my hands for anybody that's doing this option. We went knees under hips, hands under shoulder, and that's going to be a closer distance than you think. Having your knees even maybe a little bit forward of your hips is going to make it easier to lock out the movement from the lumbar spine. Another couple here. One last one. Whew. So we're going to look at how we can apply this rotation movement and this open book kind of movement into yoga postures. We're going to apply that in the next video of this series, so tune into that when it comes out. Thank you everybody for joining us for this Kanuka home practice. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave any comments below. Bye.